everybody, my name is Hannah and I chose an ad from the Adidas This Is campaign. It's pretty obviously catered towards athletes, people who work out a lot, or people who have the desire to make themselves better. Like I said, it says this is not just about running, this is about being your better self. So the audience is pretty clear right there. Now we're going to look at a few of the design principles that they used to create this ad that we've gone over in class. The first one I want to talk about is the spacing that they used. I thought it was really interesting how they spaced out the letters, made one word take up an entire line of space on this ad. It makes it really bold and eye-catching. It makes you want to look at it and it forces you to kind of look over the entire ad as you're reading the text. The next one I want to talk about is alignment. They've aligned everything right down the center, which I thought was really interesting. It creates a very unified aspect of this ad right here. And I think it was a very conscious center alignment meant to be eye-catching. It wasn't just, okay, like this is the default, so we're just going to make it center aligned. I think they did that very much on purpose. You can see how the subject in the photograph is in the center. All of the text is aligned over the center. And that also kind of forces your eyes down in a straight line, which brings you from the large, very obvious text to the smaller line of text at the bottom and then to the logo. So the font that they use is a pretty simple sans serif font. They used all caps, which I think makes it much easier to read. They used a pretty bold contrast between the fonts. It's all the same font, but they used a much larger, bolder, setting of it for the text that says this is not just about running, in a much smaller, kind of more subtle setting that says at the very bottom where this is about being your better self. Contrast, I also thought they used contrast in a very interesting way here. The first one I noticed was the color, which I circled in red. Everything in the background in the photograph is all pretty kind of dull, muted colors, like browns and grays and dark, not very bright colors. And I think they used the contrast in her clothing, which is what they're selling, to kind of bring out that, make it the subject. Like you can see it's the only pink in the whole ad. It's a very bright color right there, drawing your eye to it, even though it's behind the text. And the other place that they use contrast is in the font. They have that very bold, large font that this is not just about running, and then that small font right below it. Okay, so now we're going to look at the ad I created to go with this campaign. I believe this is pretty consistent with the campaign with the original ad. I have the spacing between the text and how it takes up pretty much the whole thing, kind of forces you to look over everything. The alignment, everything is centered aligned. The man in the background is centered aligned, and all of the text, it all kind of brings your eyes down into that smaller line of text at the bottom and the logo. So I believe that this is I believe that the ad I created is consistent with the original ad, using the design principles that we talked about in class, like the alignment, contrast, and typography.